Welcome to A Drink of Wisdom with Nathan Drinker, and I'm Jay Wise. Thanks for spending some of your time with us. As a reminder, we're on Anchor, we're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and everywhere else you can think of getting a podcast these days. And if you're looking for us in the video format, you can find us at the A Drink of Wisdom YouTube channel and streaming live normally on Colorcast. Drink, great to be back with you. Seems like I haven't seen you in a long time.
I don't know. I mean, we did, we missed the show on Tuesday. I mean, hey man, a week does feel like a long time. Hey, listen, folks, when you for the listeners that have little ones and have other stuff going on, a week flies by, and this thing you're just like, man, I feel like I haven't done anything with my life. But with that said, we are back in the lab again for another fruitful Friday. So I'm happy to be in here, but you know what it is, man. I can't move on without asking you how everything going with you and yours, man.
You say it's only been a week, but funny story, I was a Marine last week, so but yeah, man, yeah, you know how it is, man. We've been a little hectic lately, but yeah, great to be back. And like, I know we're a little late on these wild card recaps, but we got to get to them because that Dallas stuff. We got to touch on that. We have to. But how you doing, bro?
All right. Hey, so before we get into America's team or Americans blunder or however we're going to look at it, it's another day, another dollar. We're going to give the streets what they need. We see what they don't. Absolutely say what they want. Set your dinner plates because I know it's time to eat, or you probably already ate because we're a little late today. But last but not least, you know what time it is. Let's talk some sports, baby. Jay, what you got for us today?
Well, this is episode 33. It's all NFL play action. We're going to recap all the wild card games. We're going to preview all the divisional round games coming up starting tomorrow. But as we said, we'll start in the AFC with the wild card round. We'll start with the first game on the slate, which was the Cincinnati Bengals getting their first playoff win in 30 years. I think text messages hadn't been invented then. I don't know if you saw that graphic, but you had that going on. They beat the Las Vegas Raiders 26-19. Drink, what did you make of that outcome?
Well, let me tell you something. Outside of the 49ers and Cowboys, I think this game was the most intriguing game of the weekend. It was a game. When we picked the games, we thought it would be a close game. It was kind of a pick 'em type deal. I think. For me, I said the Bengals would win, but I did think the Raiders would cover, but just because they're such a scrappy team and they've been giving it in for their coach Bushushi or however you say his name. I thought they've been fighting for him. And to be honest, in this game they were still fighting for it. It came down to the Raiders getting the ball last. They just weren't able to punch it in, but they did. They made this a game, but the more I watched this game, it gave me the feeling like this was gonna be the Bengals game. They're at home, haven't won one in a while, crowd rocking. The Raiders kind of got a little, stagnant possession by possession. It almost got pretty simple for the Bengals defense. Cover Hunter Renfrow, cover Darren Waller, make the rest of the guys beat you. And I just don't think they had enough, juice on the offense to overcome that once you started covering those guys, they go-to guys. And Derek Carr, man, like I said, I don't think Derek Carr get enough credit for the quarterback that he is, man. I think if he played on the right team, we would consider him a franchise quarterback. We would consider him, a perennial MVP, something like that. But because he played for the Las Vegas Raiders, I think he kind of get overlooked. But like I said, if you think I'm full of it and you think I'm out here blowing that real deal smoke, just go look at the way he had that team rolling on that last possession. They just wasn't able to get it in the end zone and take this into overtime. But I think Derek Carr is owed some flowers, man, because I just really do think if he wasn't the quarterback and you had, let's say, Marcus Mariota, this could have got ugly fast. But nonetheless, it was a well-deserved win by the Bengals. Listen, Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, and Tyler Boyd, Higbee and crew, Joe Mixon. Hey, listen, Samaje Perine, those guys came to play. Hey, take nothing from them, take nothing from that offensive line. I think that offensive line played great for the Bengals. It was a couple of times, the Max Crosby's. I mean, he is an all-pro player, so I do believe at some time he should make a play or two, and he did. But if I had to, give a grade, I thought the Bengals, offensive line was like maybe a B, minus maybe. Like I thought they was good enough to get the job done. I just liked everything that came around. And Joe Burrow, man, let me tell you something. This young kid, me and you talked about Joe Burrow a lot when he was in college playing for LSU. We even talked about him when he was not doing much for Ohio State. But we said, man, this guy, when them lights got bright, he showed up. His character, his charisma, everything to it. He's a proven winner when he has everything he needs. And then, Jamar Chase, when I say everything he needs, look no farther than, possibly the rookie of the year this year, Jamar Chase, leading that offensive onslaught. And then, like I said, Tyler Boyd, T. Higgins, all these guys. C.J. Uzomah. Listen, people forget this. Mr. Uzomah has been playing on this team for quite a while. You might have forgot about that because we don't talk about the Bengals all that much. But let me tell you something. Joe Burrow is probably the best thing that happened to his career because he really coming alive with Joe Burrow on the center. He out here making a case for next year. Watch what I tell you in fantasy drafts. Don't be surprised if C.J. Uzomah coming pretty high off the draft for tight ends. Because he's looking pretty good with Joe Burrow at the helm. So, their offense seemed to have been rolling in that game. Can't take nothing away. And then I think the Bengals defense, look, here's the deal. I think the Bengals defense is somewhat underrated when you're talking about that front, when you talk about the linebackers. Secondaries, I'm like, cool. They're all right. But I really do like the Bengals front. I think they caused some problems in the pass game and the run game for most opponents. So, and at the end of the day, man, and I look at this, I don't think the Raiders had got a ton out of the run game. It was all right, but I didn't think it was enough to make it a game changer. So once again, that's why I think allowed Cincinnati to say, where Hunter, where 13 at? Where Darren Waller at? That's what we need to worry about. If they on the same side of the field, cut off half of the field. They on opposite sides of the field, we're gonna put a linebacker here, we're gonna put a safety here, et cetera, et cetera. And I think their schemes was based on those two guys. Because they said this. We want to see Deshaun Jackson beat us in the intermediate game. Not the long game. We'll you know what I'm saying? We'll double, we'll bracket him, we'll play him in the long game. If he can make these catches in the short game and beat us, hats off to him. I didn't see it. It didn't seem like that was there. And we talked about this before the show. It was a critical play, like I think it was a third down or so, that it was right in the hands, and he just. Anybody got gloves? Gloves. Like I don't know, but that was I don't know what that was about. So I thought, look, good win for Zach Taylor in his first playoff game. It was he's one of them young bucks that we was wondering, hey, can this guy win a playoff game? He has won one now. To his, demise, he was playing against a guy that's also interviewing for the same job he was just doing. So take that for what it's worth. But hats off to the Bengals, man. Can't take nothing from them. But like I say, I think this was the second most exciting game behind the 49ers and the Cowboys.
It did turn out that way because we'll obviously get to them. But man, we had a lot of blowouts in the first ever 6-game wild card edition. I do have to say for the record up front that you can check the tape. It feels nice to go 6-0 in the wild card picks. It does feel really nice. I just have to say that. You did pretty good yourself.
Hey man,
I do have to say. I also have to say, like,
the Steelers. It was the Steelers, man.
hey, don't forget. Like, it was on air where, and I think this doesn't happen very often. And like, this is why this show is great, because you'd never see this on like a network television show. You've never seen Skip Bayless like come on the air and like, well, hey, after Shannon gets done like giving his position, well, you know what? that was great. I think you convinced me, but that's what happened when we previewed 49ers Cowboys. Like, you listen to what I had to say, like, you know what? I like that. Like, yeah, 49ers going to win it now. Like, hey, you see what happened. But anyway, Bengals Raiders, this was a game, I got to say, like, and it was compelling. It did come down to the final possession. Derek Carr throwing a late pick when they was trying to drive down and tie the game. It's one of those games where, for me, even though it did turn out to be it was a pretty interesting game, it's just I look at both teams and I'm just like, really? Like, this Bengals Raiders, like, this is what it's come to. I just find it hard to believe in both teams. The Raiders, they was like living on the edge the last 4 weeks. You know how that season started. They start 3-0, then after 2 losses, Gruden gets canned. They had that 3-7 stretch, and in the last 4 games, they win all of them, but only by a combined 12 points. These are nail biters. And, it's just, to me, I thought Cincinnati being at home, I thought they had especially with their offensive weapons, they had a decided advantage in that regard. Both teams pretty new to this moment. The Raiders haven't had playoff success, in a long time. I don't think they've had a playoff win since the Bill Callahan Super Bowl team where they lost to Gruden's Buccaneers. I'm pretty sure that's how far it goes back. Right. So you have all that going on. The Bengals, they were able to move the ball pretty much at will for most of the game. The troubling thing for me, and we'll get into it in a couple segments, they weren't able to finish consistently. Neither team was. Like, the Bengals kicked a lot of field goals, and the Raiders, coming in, this was the worst red zone defense in 30 years or something. They were giving up 80% of drives that reached the red zone against them, resulting in touchdowns. And Cincinnati still was unable to take advantage of that. I thought that was a big deal. They still ended up being able to, overcome that and win the game. But, for me, I thought it was pretty simple. Like, the Bengals have more weapons, especially on offense. They're going to be able to move it. I didn't think they have the same, the amount of trouble, scoring the ball in the end zone. But I really thought for the Raiders, I liked what I saw from Josh Jacobs early in the game, but it just felt like as time went along, like he wasn't as involved as he needed to be. And I thought that was a big deal. You did have Darren Waller did come back for him. He was able to do a little bit, but the Raiders, they made a lot of mistakes. They made some mistakes. Deshaun Jackson dropping that pass was really key. The one thing, and I just remember this, you obviously had the big controversy with the late in the first half, where Burrow made what was a pretty fantastic play. Foot was he was almost out of bounds. He throws it. I think it was Tyler Boyd that caught it. Right. And you had one of those inadvertent whistles. And I was just like, it was just stunning to me because everybody's like crying about this. And I'm of the mindset, like, the whistle blew like a split second before Boyd caught the ball. That's what I heard, all the replays. So I'm like, who cares? Like, because everyone's saying like, well, the whistle got blown, way before, like, oh, everybody stopped. That's not how I saw it. So I didn't really understand that. Like, but when I'm listening to the replays, and maybe it wasn't how if that's not how it happened, I didn't see how that made a difference. And so, and it's the same thing. Like, I get really tired of some of these teams just crying about stuff like, oh, they looking at the refs instead of finding a mirror and looking at it and playing better.
Well, for the most part, I agree with you. I don't like all that crying and listen. If you're scared, go to church, right? I don't want to hear all that, right? But I would say this, man. You talking about a game where these players are trained to, when they hit the whistle, stop. I'm gonna tell you what. Do I think that whistle changed the play? Not really, because like you said, the ball was down almost in Tyler Boyd's hand by the time that whistle is blown. However, it's kind of like, okay, if I was a DB and I'm on Tyler Boyd, and I hear the whistle, and I think the play is over, and then I'm just like, I give a lackluster effort in the last second and a half.
But the ball's in the air. Like, why would you stop? Still, to me, the point you're making about playing to the whistle and all that, when you're like coming in to make a tackle, and then they blow the whistle, and you know how it is. Like, these guys they launch in there late, and they just flipping all over the place. Looks like a pile up on the interstate. It's crazy. That's where I think, the whistle thing, like that's where you have to stop. But the ball being in the air and like the natural instinct to me of a DB is like, hey, I gotta stop the receiver from catching the ball. That's where I don't get the whole like, oh man, he blew the whistle. Well, like you was right there. Like you couldn't go over there. Like you was kind of there. You could have went on that. Like get that ball out of here. Same.
That's
yeah.
True.
Like so. Yeah. So that's just my problem on that.
But one more thing I just want to say, and I give kudos to the NFL for this. Even though most people might not think that was a big deal, the NFL did. And they suspended Jerome Boger and his officiating crew for the rest of the postseason. Mm-hmm. They're not calling another postseason game, and I think that's right because you do have to hold them accountable for that. Even if it affected or not affect the play, you still got to know better than that.
Right.
Oh, was you done with your segment?
Yeah, I'm good on that one.
All right, so moving on to the next game, the Buffalo Bills and the New England Patriots, man. Look, here's the deal. Anybody want to see a dead body? Somebody go find Mac Jones because he got smoked. I mean, absolute smoke. Listen, Mac, I think they about to drop a new episode of First 48, including Mac Jones on that piece. Because, yeah, we got a crime scene over here, folks. Here's the deal. To the credit, to your credit of you went 6-0. I think the only game I got wrong was the Steelers. And to your credit, right? Listen, man, we said this, and I know I said this. I said, listen, the Bills are doing this, the Patriots are doing this, and it's happening at the wrong time. But boy, I just did not realize how opposite they was doing. So with that said, Jay, were you like, even though we called this game, did the result of this game at least surprise you?
Oh yeah, yeah. I don't think like, to me, I thought it was, if you look at it logically, and the thing I like about games like this is like when you have a divisional team in the playoffs, you've seen it twice already. So when you go back and you look at those first two games, like the first game, Patriots were in the midst of that big winning streak. They were on the road, but it was one of those games where the weather really played to their advantage, to their strengths. They run the football, play defense. Buffalo is kind of weird. Like it doesn't quite fit that city because that's kind of like one of the places you think where, man, run the football, play defense, and they can't. We've seen them be able to run the ball lately, but that's Josh Allen, and I will say like, that's probably the quarterback they need because, like, in that wind that's capable up there, you need a guy who can sling it like that through the wind. But so we know what happened in game one. It was advantage Patriots. But then in game two in New England, in actual, weather that's not just crazy to deal with, 50-mile-per-hour winds, you saw more of the limitations of a Mac Jones. And he wasn't just – and then – you saw Josh Allen get on track because I don't care how strong an arm you have, 50-mile-per-hour winds, you're going to have a hard time consistently throwing the football. That's what we saw. So in this game, to me, like, it's just hard in this situation trusting Mac Jones because as good as the Patriots defense is, you just felt like the Patriots defense wasn't going to be able to do enough to like neutralize him, kind of like, because they got assisted by the wind in the first game. In this game, to me, I'm like, Mac Jones, he's going to have to do something. You're not going to be able to come in here and just throw 3 passes. And then we saw in game 2 when he was asked to do more, he wasn't able to get it done. And the same thing happened in this game. The surprising part was New England's defense just couldn't do anything. I mean, they got rolled up in that 7 straight touchdown drives. I mean, you just think about that and like that's Bill Belichick. A Bill Belichick defense could get rolled like this, and a defense. The Patriots defense is kind of built, for passing teams with all the. I know they was missing Jalen Mills. They had a piece here and there, not right, but that you still had J.C. Jackson, you still had McCourty, you had most of what you needed, and you just got rolled like that. It was Yeah, that part was the win for Buffalo was not surprising at all because I'm just looking at as much as I like Bill Belichick and he's perhaps the greatest coach of all time. The thing about it, you can only go so far for Bill Belichick for any coach because they, as much as they can scheme and all the rest of that, they're not making no plays on the field. The players got to go out there and they got to play, and the Bills got better players and they got the better quarterback. And in this case, it's not close. Josh Allen over Mac Jones. I'm sorry. So the result, the win for Buffalo, not surprising at all, but it was surprising to see how Bill Belichick's defense got dominated.
Yeah, man. And listen, I was like, yo. So one of the matchups that they highlighted was Stephon Diggs versus J.C. Jackson. And let me tell you something. J.C. Jackson probably was like, listen, don't highlight this. Please don't. Cause man, Stephon Diggs gave it to him, man. I mean, that defense, man. I don't know if it was the fact that they looked across the field and said, man, our offense can't get it done or whatnot. But do you know the Buffalo Bills on offense had the perfect game? They had no punts, no field goals. Everything they had extra points because they scored touchdowns.
Right, yeah.
No interceptions. They had the perfect game by metrics of the NFL. That's crazy to think. Listen, I know both of these teams are in the same division. Got that. This is their third time meeting each other. Got that too. But for you to go out here and roll a perfect game the Patriots was a top 10 defense. That was a top 10 defense this year. And you made them look like the Jacksonville Jaguars. I mean, just god awful. Or the New York Jets. You know what? The weather was cold, so I'm gonna say you made them look like the New York Jets with more weather, And this is also a guy in Josh Allen that people still got reservations about. So no one thought that they was gonna come out here and just steamroll them. But I think you do have to give that credit, some of that credit to the improvement of Devin Singletary. I think he improved dramatically from the beginning of the season to now at being, a number one running back and giving Josh Allen help when he needed. Because here's the deal. You said this. The run game is basically Josh Allen and whatever he want to do. But when you able to get the ball to Devin Singletary, he can make some yards, he can get some things done, or you able to throw a pop pass to Devin Singletary out in the flat, and he can make a first down. That makes any quarterback job easy. Any. Especially a MVP caliber quarterback. I think that, to me, on the offense was like the biggest thing for them. The offensive line held up like we thought they should all season. And then Devin Singletary, he came in there and he's actually the guy that he played like the guy that they drafted him to be. And I thought he was a very good complementary part to what Josh Allen wanted to do. And then Stephon Diggs was just out here he didn't like wow you in the touchdown fashion. But I mean, when you talking about a one-on-one matchup, I mean, he did his job about as good as you want him to do, other than the fact that he struggled to find the end zone. Like, I got that. But that allowed us to find out about Emmanuel Sanders and Cole Beasley and others, because now your number one is doing his job. So 2, 3, and 4, you need to be doing your job. And it was just a masterpiece, man. It was a clinic, man. It was just a clinic. And for the Patriots, here's the deal, man. You can't be super upset. I see people saying, "Oh, Matt Jones is overrated." Well, he's a rookie that lost in the playoff game.
Right.
Remember that. He was a rookie that lost in the playoff game. We're not talking about week 3 playing, the Houston Texans. Like, he was in a playoff game. High stakes here. Like, this is high stakes, folks. If it was any time you wanted him to look bad, it's probably that. It's probably when the competition is at its height, when the lights are at its brightest, and he didn't look great. But let's keep it real. It ain't like his wide receiver core is just, full of just guys, full of just horses out there. I mean, when Jacoby Myers, your go-to guy, what are we talking about here? Because if it would have been anybody else, if Tom Brady was throwing to this crew and he wasn't getting it done, we'd be like, well, what in the hell we want Tom Brady to do? Save everybody? Make everybody good? Well, no. So, I mean, listen, we gave the Patriots credit for what they did in the offseason by signing these guys. Some of them just didn't show up the way we thought they was going to show up. I'm sorry. Those tight ends this year didn't show up the way I thought they was going to show up. I thought those guys was going to be very good complementary pieces to Matt Jones, and he was going to use them. He didn't. Harrod, Kinnear Harrod, whatever. He's still on the team. Somebody tell me why? I don't get it.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, the only guy that guy and a half that I say, Jacoby Myers. I thought he shows up every now and then, and then you got Aguilar or whatnot. But I don't know, man. Listen, they got a lot of things to do, and I just want to say this: how fitting is it to see Bill Belichick get the worst? I mean, the absolutely worst playoff loss that he didn't have. He didn't get beat this bad when he was with Cleveland. So how about that? So I thought, hats off to the Buffalo Bills. They came and did what they did. But man, I think people got to lighten up on Matt Jones just because, listen, he was a rookie. He hit a rookie wall. This happens. We'll see how they bounce back next year.
Yeah, especially considering, what other rookie quarterback did anything this year. So also got to keep that in mind, even though the counter argument will be, well, they didn't have Bill Belichick and their defense and Damon Harry and all that. But still, you do have to take that in consideration. Anyway, another blowout happened on Sunday night when the Kansas City Chiefs beat the Pittsburgh Steelers 42-21. You had the Steelers look like they were going to do something early when inexplicably Andy Reid had Darrell Williams and McCole Hardman playing around in the backfield. Williams fumbles it twice. And who was it? Was it Watt or Hayward? It was one of them. One of them's rump. It was T.J. Watt. Yeah, T.J. Watt runs it back to the end zone. 7-0 Steelers. And then after that, Kansas City got their act together. And like the last game, I was done with this game by halftime. Drink, over to you.
So
sorry.
I stuck around because, as y'all know, I picked the Steelers in the upset. I felt like Mike Tomlin and Big Ben in his last hurrah, and Juju Smith-Schuster coming back, and I honestly thought that, hey man, these guys gonna give it the old college boy try, and I think they had the opportunity to, like you said. Listen, the Kansas City just came out here flopping around at first. T.J. Watt put on the Jets. He was looking like a oversized Ferrari out there, the way he sped onto the end zone. And I was like, yo, the Steelers feel good about themselves. Why not? You had Najee Harris. He was doing his thing. But I think for you, like you said, at halftime it was over with for you. For me, when Najee Harris fumbled, I said, yeah, it's about that time. I'm going to tip on out here. Here's a guy, man, I've been watching him, I watched him all his college career and then a little bit of his high school career. This dude don't fumble, man. He don't fumble. Listen, the one thing you can count on with Najee, he's going to come here, he's going to be a professional. He's not going to fumble the ball. Now, he might, be a diva. He want to catch the ball a little too much. And you're like, no, you're a running back. You're not a wide receiver. That might, you can hit him for that. But he usually don't turn over the ball to the other team. He did in this game, and I thought that was uncharacteristic. And I was just like, all right, maybe this is over. Maybe we're going to go ahead and pack this up. But, with that said, I got to give credit to Kansas City. Because Kansas City could have folded after they just started flopping around back there and just Andy Reid looking like he making up plays right on the spot. I don't know what was going on with that. Him and Eric B, man. Listen, Eric B, you've been in all these conversations about being a head coach. That crap right there, doing that ain't going to help your cause right there. That's not going to help your cause. Sitting here, just got dudes in the back. Hey, you got it. I ain't never ran this play before. Hey, you remember that one time we ran it? Oh, fumble, T.J. Watt. That's not going to cut it. So, next round, let's clean that up a little bit because you can't be doing that. But I will say this. thank you, Kansas City, for doing that, because you did make the game a little more compelling and a little bit longer than it should have been because you did that. Because if you would have just came out and did what you were supposed to, Jay said he didn't watch it past halftime. He probably wouldn't have watched it past the first quarter if you would have just came out and just did what you were supposed to, right?
Yeah.
But Big Ben, most likely his last game in the Steelers uniform. He ought to do bigger and better things, as they say. I think the Steelers will be fine. They have to figure out their quarterback position, but I think this is a good, it's a good tool, man, because sometimes when you have these teams, a loss makes, like Najee Harris, for example, Claypool, some of the younger guys that's on the team that they probably just in one ear out the other one. When it happens to you, you kind of respect it a little more. Mike Tomlin, Mike Tomlin is Mike Tomlin. We know what he's gonna do. But I think we'll see the Steelers back again. But yes, to my partner's credit, this is just another blowout for another playoff game. Y'all know what it was. But we'll see, man. And shouts out to the Steelers, man.